session, we will explore why the next breakthrough consumer apps will be on Move. With its unique focus on safety and flexibilities, Move is quickly becoming a favorite among developers eager to build innovative applications in gaming, finance, and social media. Let's give a welcome to our speaker, Shayan from Movement, Joshua from Supra, Cynthia from Supra, and Brian from Aptos for this exciting final session.
Okay, this is quite a long time, 40 minutes, so we can start with a brief introduction. I'm Brian. I'm a DevRel engineer at Aptos.
Hey everyone, my name is Cynthia and I'm leading the ecosystem development for the APAC region at Sui Foundation.
Josh here, co-founder, CEO of Supra. Supra is a layer 1 blockchain that's vertically integrating Oracle services, and we're going to market with Move language.
Hello everyone, my name is Shayan. I'm a DevRel engineer with Movement Labs. We are building the first Move L2 on Ethereum.
So I guess today's talk is mainly around consumer apps and how they can be built on Move. So first question, we'll start off with the easy one. Like, what kind of consumer apps do you guys want to see on Move and why?
Well, you guys looking at me? I guess I'll go. So I guess one of the biggest advantages of Move is that it's a lot easier for people to build dApps on Move than it is traditional like blockchain programming paradigms like Solidity or Rust, as you see on like Solana Near, for example. So I think out of the box, one of the biggest things that I think is very easy are games. So like for example, with Solana, you have to manage like data at the bytecode level, whereas Move extracts it extrapolates that. You know, developers no longer need to be focused on the nitty-gritty, so developers can focus on building games, for instance, and not just like low-level data manipulation. I think this, and again, this doesn't just apply to games. This applies to pretty much like all other aspects of programming on blockchains as well, is that it makes it a lot easier for people to develop whatever they want. But I think from a start, I think games are a lot easier now.
Yeah, I would say that most use cases in other virtual machines, it's going to apply to Move, but you'll have a better developer experience. I think Web 2 folks that come to Web 3 are going to, it'll make more sense to them. The paradigm will make more sense to them. And, but yeah, ultimately the applications, I think, are going to be still DeFi, SocialFi, CasinoFi, whatever they're doing on blockchains today. I think this will continue to happen because these blockchains are general purpose machines.
Yeah, it's very interesting that for this year, like Sui's top priority is actually to acquire more users, and that means like this year we have been put in like much more efforts into growing the consumer application verticals. And surprisingly, this year we have been seeing like multiple very interesting consumer applications being like built on top of Sui. And the common pattern that we observe across like all these existing consumer applications, they actually find a way to connect Web 2 and the Web 3 world. So I'll give you guys like an example. So currently we have an application called Record, and they're building like a Web 3 TikTok. So basically they're helping content creators to tokenize their like videos on chain, and they can easily like trade the tokenized videos with other counterparties. And in terms of like the revenue generation, the project actually helps content creators to monetize the views and likes on their videos by creating like an in-app token economy. And we have been seeing like this has been, like super innovative in terms of like bridging Web 2 and Web 3 world, as well as combining the real use cases from Web 2 and adding the blockchain components to that. And for a period, Recurl has actually helped like drive the on-chain user metrics, and the like daily peak we have observed is about like 1 million active wallets on chain. So I think that kind of like speaks to to like a demand for actually building consumer applications on Sui, and we're also really excited about to see more similar applications coming to Sui and deliver like real results.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you take a look at your crypto timeline, you notice Sui has, is doing something correct. There's a lot more engagement on Twitter. I think a lot of investors have been vocal about, Sui possibly becoming the next Solana. I think this question is more directed to Cynthia. I mean, I'm wondering, has there been something with Sui within the past 2 months where they've taken like a different direction to attract more crypto native folks or ex-Solana projects? Any tips you can share for some of the other Move blockchains?
Okay. Yeah, so I've been like taking multiple AMA this year, and almost every AMA I got asked the same question, like the consistent answer that I've been given across like different AMAs is like Sui's success doesn't happen within a short time period, but it was a long time efforts, but like all the long time efforts finally got recognized and got attention from the market during past like 2 months. So for instance, Sui was mainland launch in May last year, and over the past year we have been dedicated. We have been super supportive of our DeFi projects, and for the last year we have been like growing our DeFi sector really fast. Given that usually for new layer 1 blockchain, like the vertical that delivers the results in the fastest way is probably like the DeFi sector. So last year we actually provided like multiple like support to DeFi projects, including like providing them with funding support, marketing support, as well as like growth support to make sure that they could like survive during the bear market, as well as they could capture like more users. And we have definitely seen the huge growth in our TVL and transaction values. On the TVL side, we grow our TVL from like 30 million when the mainland launched to like 1.1 billion at the peak. And for the transaction volume, I think like the majority of transaction volume is on like Citrus, and it's also at a very like impressive number. So last year, and after we have been successfully growing our DeFi ecosystem, and suddenly the market turned to like much positive vibes, and we have seen like projects easily raised from prestigious investors and then got listed on prestigious exchange, and that kind of like paved the way for Sui's success starting of this year. And then we also signed multiple gaming partners as well as like partners on the consumer applications, but they have been like heads down building the real product over the past year, and finally they are able to deliver real products on chain starting in like Q2, Q3, and all these efforts have finally led to more attention from the market on Sui, as well as like more growth this year.
Okay, yeah, that was a really, really good answer. I don't know, Supra, or from the movement side, you guys had any ideas on how to attract more crypto native users to your chain?
So I'll just mention that Cynthia was talking about executing fundamentals for a long time at extremely high level, right? And that it didn't just happen overnight, I mean, I predicted the success of Sui in Aptos, personally, a while ago. But every ecosystem needs its basic primitives, DeFi, different toolings, just all kinds of things to get off the ground. There's a lot to do. So, I think your answer was very comprehensive and very grounded in fundamentals.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to shed some light, I was at Sui previously, and I do want to add that like a lot of the things that we did end up working on are like finally seeing fruit now, right? They're finally bearing fruit now. So I think it's kind of cliche, but to like trust the process and ensure that like, hey, if a DeFi dApp is launching, like let's say now, it's very normal for it to not like begin to pick up like months, possibly weeks or maybe months after. So I think it totally makes sense that, you know, like Rome wasn't built in a day. And I think, yeah, I don't believe Supra has TGE'd yet either. You guys are correct, right? So of like half of the projects on the stage, only two of them are out, right? So movement is also still in testnet, and you know, taking the lessons I've learned from Sui, taking the lessons that like I've like looking at like Aptos' success as well, I think it makes sense that, you know, from our side we really want to focus on like getting the fundamentals there, developer tooling. Thankfully, we also have app because we use the Aptos VM, so thankfully a lot of that has been done for us. But nevertheless, we still want to focus on, you know, providing our builders with, so people in the movement ecosystem in this case, with as much support as they need, because I believe that, you know, if these builders have a chance to like make a living ultimately, because that's what they want to do. Everyone in crypto at the end of the day wants to make a living. So if a builder is choosing to build on movement, they're foregoing some sort of opportunity cost by building elsewhere, and as a result, we at Movement Labs, from the Movement Labs point of view, we want to ensure that the builders have everything it takes for them to succeed, because eventually their success, hopefully, right, the builder's success will culminate in like successful dApps. Successful dApps will help movement, like the network, and I think the two have a symbiotic relationship. You know, the dApp success is movement success, the movement success is dApp success, and you can replace movement with like pretty much any blockchain, not even like one of these, right? So that's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah, we did have an event, last Wednesday with Movement and Supra. So I know that we spent like a whole day kind of talking to developers there and, you know, asking what type of applications they want to build. I'm wondering if there's a specific trend that stood out during this trip to Bangkok. Like, did you see a set of users want to build a specific set of applications, or?
Again, this is all anecdotal, right? I think if you ask other team members, just depending on like who they're talking to, right? But me, I personally saw a lot of like DeFi and gaming projects, and I think these are like the most notable, in my opinion, in the movement ecosystem.
I've been having conversations with SocialFi. I mean, social is tough. I think it's really tough, but more or less, if there is basically the conversations around any opportunity that is under 30 cents. So imagine Visa charges maybe 20 cents plus 1% fee. Anything below that is too cheap and too expensive for them to handle, right? So, but I think there's a huge opportunity for micro payments, right? So that might be in games, it might be social. These things can be combined into DeFi as well. So I think I'll focus on micro payment opportunities. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, so I feel like this week has been like passing very fast, and I'm trying to like remember who that I have been like talking to. So basically, I think like Sui is kind of like unique that we're seeing like more DeFi projects based in the APAC, and we're like actively supporting DeFi 1.0 projects to finish their fundraising, and I think the current projects that are looking to raise, they are having like really good conversations with investors, and hopefully they can close their current round by the end of the like Devcon, because I know they're like meeting multiple investors. And what's more interesting to come next is what we called like the DeFi 2.0 applications that are building on top of liquid staking, like lending and DEX. So I've been like having conversations with like multiple teams that want to build like more innovative DeFi applications that are only possible on Sui. And besides like the DeFi sector, we are also seeing more like interesting consumer applications, especially like applications leveraging Telegram and to especially on acquiring users, but they want to deploy their actual application on Sui. And then we have been like having like conversations with this kind of applications.
Yeah, I know from the Aptos side, we ran a booth for. Is that rain?
Is that
or
rain?
something?
Yeah, is that right?
Oh my god.
Oh wow. Okay, so we ran a booth for 2 days at Thailand Blockchain Week, and we noticed about half the builders were getting curious about AI agents. I think part of it is because Truth Terminal and the Goat token, and I think most recently AI coin called ACT that got listed on Binance, and there's been a push by Binance to start listing tokens that still have room to go up. So I think there's been some asks from our devs on like how can we build AI agents on Move. I'm curious if you think if you're bullish, bearish on AI agents, and if your team is working on anything with AI.
I think you should answer this first. I think you should take the opportunity to
Yeah, you
answer
should
some
tell
questions
us
as
about,
well.
like, Aptos view on this.
Right, I think it'd be particularly interesting if we leveraged an existing AI meme coin community and seeing how we can better support them on Move. Because I think a lot of the activity is happening on Base and potentially Solana. So thinking like, how can we get that community active on Move, essentially, right? And I think that's like one of the first things when we get back in Palo Alto. Like we want to focus on that.
Interesting. I mean, I don't like me personally. I can't speak on behalf of movement or anyone else but myself. Is that I'm still, I don't want to say I'm bearish. The whole AI agents, but I think I'm very skeptical because I don't think like ChatGPT has gained sentience yet. I know people were like, oh my god, like it's talking like it's a real person, but I don't think it's there. I also wouldn't be surprised if a good number of these AI agents are just some guy like behind his keyboard, like having a fun time trolling everybody else. So me personally, I'm not there yet, but I think the space is very young and I'm open to have my convictions proven otherwise.
Yeah, I think like since we're DevRel, we're more focused on kind of the degen nature of crypto. But we're also familiar with the technology and how things are built. I think to like a normal consumer, when they see the terminal of like, let's say Luna protocol that's thinking and then executing these plans, we know that this most likely came from a foundational model from OpenAI or Claude, and it's just using some sort of, the OpenAI swarm repo to perform these tasks. And so we're probably not as bearish, but to someone who's just like seeing it for the first time, I can see where they get the impression that this can go somewhere.
No, I mean definitely like what's the main one called again? Truth Terminal? Yeah, the Truth Terminal one. Like the tweets are kind of funny. It's like I think it shouted out like a Mark Andreessen or whatever from like a passerby. I think that'd be like pretty cool, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know the exact history, but I think Mark gave the founder of
something
that,
like that. Like 50,000 or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Supra.
Yeah, so I think AI agents in the future will be the dominant traders and transactors on blockchains. Once you can just, everyone talks about intents, right? Well, humans just want to say, hey, I want to do this when this happens. Get it done the best way possible. That's all people want to do, you know what I mean?
But my bear case on that, after interacting with some of these AI agents, is it's very common for the AI to hallucinate. Like sometimes, like that 1% case where the AI just gets it wrong, especially in a big financial transaction, that could
cost you a lot.
wipe you out, right?
Yeah, you're going to be very careful about that. Probably have to have some limits in place. But I would say what I'm even talking about isn't necessarily AI. It's just more like automation, in a cross-chain setting. So you might need to have awareness of state across different chains. So cross-chain communication is important. Automation, so you can have automated transactions based off of other triggers. But ultimately, the AI component, I think, is humans just kind of say what I'm trying to do. The AI, what it does is, will just craft the transaction for you, and then you have to approve it. Maybe something like this as an intermediary step. But I do think it's going to get wild. I think in the future, it's going to be a lot of AI bots against AI bots.
Yeah, I think like AI is definitely like a very interesting vertical, and we want to do more research into this specific field. Because like currently, I think what we're seeing is the use case to actually combine like AI agents and the underlying blockchain technology is not that like straightforward. And I actually just had a chat with like AI team from Solana this morning, and they were telling me that they want to build like AI agents, and they want to talk to different gaming projects to like leverage the AI agents they're building and to kind of provide the users with a gaming companion experience. But I'm like right now I just like don't have like enough information to actually like make the assessment on that, and I think like we are definitely like curious to explore more into this related field.
Yeah, I think having the prices where they're at, I think just like devs are demanding they find some way to have this be supported on Move. So it's pretty interesting. I think it's like something that can be explored. Kind of pivoting a little bit. I know we each have like our own flavor of the Move programming language, and I'm wondering, in our own version, is there anything we're doing to help better support devs when they decide to build apps?
Well, I mean, I know Movements, for instance, is sorry, one-to-one with Aptos. So I guess anything that the whole point, at least immediately, right? Because we're pre-mainnet, so I think the biggest goal for us at the moment is to just like get over this one hurdle and then to innovate after that point. Because I think I think Sam Blackshear said this creative move, right? He said that one of the greatest points of Move was that it was built to be modular, right? That anybody can come along, fork it, add their own flavor to it, see what makes most sense for them. So I guess right now Movements is going to be one-to-one with Aptos. Do you want to talk about like what is Supra planning with your guys' implementation of the Move VM?
We are also starting with the Aptos Move. It's more suitable for our structure. Like Sui Move, we're big fans as well, of course, but they're just different. Like, for example, Sui uses FastPay for token transfers, my understanding, and that's not actually a traditional consensus algorithm. It's very efficient though for token transfers. And I think as a result, like fundamentally the architecture and the infrastructure is different between Sui and Aptos. But Aptos is, or at least back in the day, was closer to, they were using like Jolteon, kind of a more traditional BFT algorithm. And Supra also is in that kind of family. So Aptos Move made a lot more sense for us. Now that said, there are some interesting things that we are slowly realizing we need to bring to the table. For example, if you have price feeds, okay, actually our smart contracts work the same for our data feeds. But some things, including, for example, automation, these are going to, and we have a concept called containers. We're actually having to get into the VM level and make some changes. Now, we don't want to deviate too much from Aptos Move, actually, because there's a community building this, and it's open source, and we kind of bring things to the table in our own way. But it doesn't surprise me if over time, especially if we go different directions. For example, Supra has a VRF, Aptos has a VRF as well, verifiable random function. Maybe something about your implementation inspires some deviation in the kind of, or evolution in the Aptos Move, but maybe we don't need to take that because we're doing it differently. So we'll see, but more or less, I think, we're kind of very lucky in that we get to watch you both go first and pick and choose the things we love. Yeah, between Aptos and Sui Move.
Yeah, so I think like from Sui's perspective, given we have been there around for like almost 2 years, and then right now we have very robust retail community as well as developer community, and we kind of like the thing we're currently thinking about is how do we attract like top tier teams, especially like how we really compete with the leading, like right now the leading ecosystem. So for instance, like Solana, like how can we like capture more man share from like the leading L1, L2, and I think like technology, underlying blockchain technology definitely plays a very important role, but it's not like the single factor for like top-notch teams to come to Sui. And we definitely are aware that besides selling our tech, we also need to sell like all the business support and ecosystem support that we can provide to the builders. And especially right now we have like so many applications building on Sui, and their success has already testified that the legitimacy of the underlying technology, as well as they have also been like sharing about all the ecosystem support as well as the business support that we are actively providing to the team. So I felt like for the next stage of Sui's growth, we definitely want to craft a more comprehensive value proposition, especially tailored to like the top 0.1% teams in Web3 industry, and we want this like the value proposition covers not only like the technology part, but as well as the ecosystem part that we can offer together to any new teams coming to Sui.
Yeah, I think from the Aptos side, we're really big on documentation and learning, essentially. So we have a resource called Aptos Learn, where we have a set of workshops where if you're a Web 2 developer, you can start with not knowing anything on chain, and as you go through our course, like the hope is you'll launch your own dApp on Aptos. Another thing we have is a tool built by one of our team members here called Create Aptos dApp, where kind of in like 3 lines in your terminal, you can spin up a full stack application on Aptos. And I think another cool feature that we have is something called Aptos Connect, essentially where you can log in with your Google email and be on chain and not realize it. I think a really cool feature that's been demonstrated by one of our product managers is the ability to send or airdrop tokens through email. So it becomes a little bit easier than like requiring someone send you your public key that kind of probably won't make sense to most people, and so that's where we're trying to head towards. Just make things make sense for Web 2 developers. The next question that I had is you want to add to that?
I just want to say, Cynthia, you laughed. Why is that?
It just like that reminds me of ZK logging and ZK SYN on Sui.
Keyless from
Right.
Aptos and ZK login from Sui.
Right. I think the researchers over at Aptos Suite get along really well. So.
But I guess I do want to add one more thing before you go on to the next question. Is that again? Yeah, it's no surprise. I was at Sui before, and like you were talking about like what's the difference, or like if there will be like different implementations of Move moving forward. Is that like again for someone I spent I was a year at Sui, so most of my time was writing Sui Move, right? Before joining Movement, I had to like kind of like pick up like the Aptos flavor of Move again, and it really didn't take me like any longer than like 2-3 days just to like reacquaint myself with like the idiosyncrasies of like the flavor of Aptos Move. So I think for like other developers who are familiar with Aptos or Sui, or like should Supra like launch their own implementation, should Movement launch their own implementation, I think the learning, like once you've already like learned Move, I think like the marginal learning curve to go from like one stack to the other is very minimal. But like I think too, I mean John and I were talking about this yesterday, it's kind of funny that you brought this up, is that the same way like Rust is used in many different like blockchain paradigms, be it like Solana, Near, Cosm, Wasm, they're all Rust, right? But they're still not one-to-one with each other. You can't copy and paste Solana code into a Near or like Cosmos project the same way you can copy and paste like Optimism code into like an Arbitrum file, etc. So I think it makes sense for Move to evolve and to deviate from like the original DM Move implementation of it. I think it's normal, it's natural. Every blockchain has their own idiosyncrasies. So I think it makes sense that the language in like the VM underneath, should it be modified to match that, is like perfectly fine and perfectly normal. And again, like I think at the end of the day, it is just like small tweaks on top, and like the overall paradigm doesn't change too much. Again, because like I said, I think going between like Aptos and Sui, it's very easy. Like once you know one, it's very, you have to like read some docs, but whatever, okay. You change some stuff and you can move forward.
Yeah, I think maybe final question before we like open it up to audience. I know we're coming up to 30 minutes here. I'm curious, like, how do you, in the future, like how do you see Move achieving mainstream adoption? Like, let's imagine that you're a builder, considering to come on chain, and it seems like a lot of builders are skewed towards like Solana and Base. Like, how are you convincing them that, hey, Move could potentially be the right chain for you?
Well, I think, again, going back from a DevRel perspective, having written like Solidity, Rust, etc., I think Move is just very easy. I think Move is very easy. It's very straightforward. Like in Solana, you don't have to worry about like bytecode management. You get all the safety features out of the box. You don't have to worry about safety or anything. You can just focus on creating dApps. And this isn't something that like we are personally doing, but I think like as an industry is like taken off, is that the fact that, you know, if we were to have had like this panel, I think like Supra held this panel, held a Move Day was that MoveCon at ETH Denver, I think 2 years ago. The only move chains then were only Aptos and Sui. So if you think about it, the number of move chains has doubled in 2 years. So, you know, in 2 years, who knows? Maybe there'll be like 8 people up here, right? So I think the fact that there are more chains coming out, there are more move chains, period, is a testament to its success and the fact that the future of Move is bright. You know, the same way there's probably like 50 EVM L2s, 50 EVM chains. If Move gets to that point, or let's say like, you know, hypothetically in the future, like devs are picking like which Move chain to deploy on instead of like which EVM chain to deploy on, I think that would be a huge testament to Move's success.
So I mean, I totally agree with that. And in terms of consumer adoption of Move, I mean, you have two consumers. One is the developer. I think they're going to want to go where there's exciting new technology, but opportunity, you know. So new chains, there's just more opportunity, you know. So that's one. In terms of end consumers, I mean, if we have a successful application, the end consumer won't even know what virtual machines are being run on it. In the end, we think it's really important for the developer that's making the product or service or application to actually build something people want, build something useful. And as a result, I think they'll actually capture a lot of the value. I think a lot of the value gets captured at the application layer.
Yeah, I agree with what like both just said. And I think like from the ecosystem's perspective, I think the mass adoption of Move really depends on the real success of the applications building on top of like Move ecosystem. And unfortunately, like right now in our industry, our measurement of success is kind of very limited to if they can raise from prestigious investors, as well as if the projects can get listed on top tier exchange like Binance or like OKX. And the past week, you know, like our leading DAX sitters just got listed on Binance, and which make them become like the very first Move-based project to get listed on Binance. And I think that's a really huge milestone, not only for Sui ecosystem, but also for the entire like Move ecosystem. And that kind of demonstrates that, you know, like applications being built on top of like Move language can, you know, really achieve the so-called success that has been like measured in our like Web3 industry.
Yeah, I didn't have much to add. I pretty much agree with what everyone said. I think big thing is, you know, make the developer experience as easy as possible, and let's see what interesting applications people build. And
do you have one?
Yeah.
Another like point on top of that. Like, I know all of us now have some sort of like developer portal up. Like I know when I was at Sui, I worked with Keith. You're Supra's DevRel to like work on like educational materials. When I was at Sui, I worked on educational materials. At Movement, I'm working on educational materials, right? So like in a way, we are all building like these competing materials, and in that vein, it like would help us all perform better, right? I think, you know, there is some there is some competition between all of us, right? So I think the fact that, you know, we'll see, okay, Sui's doing really well right now. How can we try harder and, like, you know, match that? So I think the competition between us is definitely healthy, and at the end of the day, inspires us all to be better and like to, you know, go harder.
Cool. I think we can end on a fun note. It's like very similar to something I did at Singapore in Tobkin 24/9. Now that I'm thinking back, I was also the last presentation over in Singapore. So it's just bullish or bearish. We'll choose a topic. You can just give a one-word answer. So we'll start with Ethereum.
Bearish.
Bullish.
I mean, it's going to be huge, of course, but like, are you going to get another 1000x anytime soon?
We're in Ethereum L2, I have to
Okay,
say.
one
We're-
word,
Yeah,
one
that's
word,
right, right. It's all
one
good.
word answers.
Okay.
Neutral.
That wasn't.
Okay, I gotta say bearish. AI agents?
Bearish.
Bullish.
Neutral.
Come on, stop fence sitting.
I'll say bullish. And then last one, Thailand.
Bullish.
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 Bullish as well. Cool. We'll end on that.
Okay, awesome. All right, picture on.
Thank you for an amazing final sessions on the Move programming language. You deep dive into the powerful features of Move. And ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this incredible event, it is my honor to invite the two visionary minds behind it all to help us wrap things up. Please join me welcoming คุณนายอานกร ใบมงคล and คุณกร กฤษ วรรณวิทยาภา co-founder of Symmetry to the stage to deliver closing remarks.